The key question that we ask ourselves is, where is my money? So you get your salary on the first of the month, and then 2-3 weeks later, there is nothing left. This is why I built this tracker to be able to track income, expenses, savings, and investments. You can see this tracker on the screen, so if you like it, you can click on the like button below. It's super simple and it will help the channel tremendously. In this tracker, you'll be able to see the trend. So for example, income versus expense over time. You will see breakdowns, and you can also do some deep dive analysis. Now you can download the tracker, the link is in the description, but don't go away, because if you don't watch this video, number one, you won't understand how the tracker works, so your dashboard might give you wrong answers. And two, throughout this video, I will explain to you what the number means and how to analyze them. For example, if your fixed cost is 60%, is it good or is it bad? So without further ado, let's go and deep dive into it. Whenever you download the tracker, you can just right click on it, and then here you have properties. If you see unblock, you need to tick it. In my case, I don't have it, so I'm just gonna press on OK, and I'm done. Once I open it, I need to enable macros. Usually you will get a yellow message here, so you can just click on enable macros. If you don't see it, you can go to File, Options. It's a bit far. You're gonna see Trust Center Settings, Macro Settings, and Enable VBA Macros. You press OK, you are set. We have 5 sheets, and I'm gonna start with the first one, which is Income Expenses. This is my transaction sheet basically. Every time I have a new transaction, I'm gonna put it here. I just need to specify the date, the amount, and the subcategory, and the rest will be populated automatically. Let me show you. So we're just gonna go down, and here we're gonna put, for example, the 1st of January 2026, 500. You can see automatically we get a new line. This is because it's an Excel table. It will do this automatically. Now here I can select, or I can type. I type an S, I have some options, salary, and I get everything automatically. How? This is a VLOOKUP. This is another VLOOKUP. Here we're taking the year of this date, which is 2026, and here the month of the date, which is January. Now, from where did I get category and type, etc.? Well, super simple, I have a reference table. So in this reference table, you have the subcategory, the category, and the type, and you need to define them. I have some that I put already, so you can come and change the name, that doesn't matter. For example, like this, Ctrl Z. You can delete some, right click and then you delete, or you can add. For example, we come here, we put a gift. We're gonna put, for example, fixed cost and expense. Now that we have it, if we come back to our income expense sheet, we go here, we can just go down to the end of the menu and you can see we have gift, which means that this menu will automatically expand and shrink based on what you have in your reference table. Because this is again an Excel table that will automatically expand and shrink. Now, if you don't want this expense, you can just come here and then right click, you delete it, that's fine. If I come back, I can do the same here. So I don't like refunds, right click and I delete. Now, one thing you need to be careful about is that every subcategory that you have here in your income and expenses, for example, bonds, index fund, etc., you have to have it in your subcategory. For example, if I come and I select the gift, I have the gift. That's cool. I have fixed cost and expense. If I come here and I delete it, right click, delete, what would happen? We come back, we have an error, which means that we're going to have a problem in the dashboard. So let's just delete this, right click and delete it. Let's go back to our reference sheet. Now let me show you what I have just for reference. What I advise you to do is don't change the types. So use those 4 types: income, expense, then you have investment and savings. The rest, the categories, subcategories, you can change them. There is no problem. Now, what is the philosophy behind this dashboard? Well, the philosophy is the following. You have money coming in, which is your income, and those are the types of incomes that we have. Now, out of this, either you're going to spend it, or you're going to invest it, or you're going to save it. And this is the difference that I have between my dashboard and the ones that you're going to see on the internet. On the internet, what happens? You have income, you have expenses, and then income minus expenses is just your savings. Here, I want to consciously put our savings and our investments. So now let's look a little bit in the expense category to see what we have. In expenses, I have fixed costs and living life spending. Those are the two categories I have. You can add more. But for me, I look at it in a simple way. First of all, the fixed costs are the costs that I cannot go without them. For example, you have your phone, you have your utilities, housing, debt, etc. Living the life are the expenses to have fun. When you go out to a restaurant, cinema, hobbies, gadgets, etc. After that, if I just go down, we have our investments. So for example, you can put in stocks, bonds, index funds. And for savings, I have current account, an emergency fund. Usually you will put 3 to 6 months of expenses in this fund. And if you are saving for something special, like a wedding fund, you can put it. Now that we have those two things set up, we go to the dashboard. And it has a lot of informations. Let's break it down one by one. First of all, you have those top numbers. You have your total income, total expenses. Wealth, it's actually my investment plus my savings. So those two numbers will be summed here. And the saving rate is the wealth number divided by the income. So here I have selected 1 month, which is April, and I only have 2025, so only this year. I can just clear everything, and this will be the sum of everything I have in my database. In my database, I have from Jan to June. So if you add, for example, August, September, etc., they will all appear. So bottom line, whatever months you select, those numbers will automatically adjust. How did I get those numbers? Let me show you. We have a helper sheet. And in this helper sheet, I just have pivot tables. Super simple. We come here. Those are the 4 items that we saw in the dashboard. You can see them here. So you can see the pivot tables below it. For example, this is one pivot table. This is another one. Then you have one for the wealth. And then you have a calculation for the savings rate. Now let me show you. If I come to this one, right click, show field list, you can see I have, for example, the type in the filters, and I have the amount in the values. So that's the same for the other ones. And what I've done already is I filtered here income. So this is the sum of income. Here you have the sum of expenses, etc. And for this one, I just divided this cell by this cell so you get the percentage. Everything is here and it's picked up automatically by the dashboard. The good thing is that whenever you just filter, it will filter my pivot tables and then it will update the numbers. Next, let's look at expenses versus savings and investments. So here, what we are looking at is only where the money is going. The money is coming in terms of income, it's not there, but the money is going in fixed costs, living the life spending, investment, and savings. Those are the ones that I have here, the categories. So savings, investments, you have fixed costs, living the life, etc. You will see the results in terms of numbers and also in terms of percentages. So again, I change the months, it will automatically update. What is super important is this one. Now, usually what I recommend as fixed costs is maximum 50 to 60% of your income, not more. If you're going for more, you have to question yourself. I have recently written a book about financial independence and how to reach financial independence and live a rich life. If you want, you can just check it. The link is in the description. And there I talk a lot in details how to use this tracker, how you can track your expenses, how you can build wealth, etc. But for now, know this. Now, living the life spending, usually it's between 25 to 35%. So we can see that this person is living really off lettuces, I think, because the person is barely spending, or maybe the person has a crazy income. For savings, which is this one, usually it's 5 to 10% of your income. And for investments, it's 5 to 10% of income. Here, the person is investing and saving much more. Now, those tables, if you go to helper, you can see the graph and you can see the 2 pivot tables that we have below. So we are just filtering, for example, expense, investments, and savings, and we are getting the categories in terms of numbers and percentages. Next, we have trends. So here we have the trend of income versus expenses, and we have here investments and savings. And you can see that if I change the months, those will not update. Why? Because you always want to see the trend. Now you might want to see 1 month of expense versus savings, but here you want to see what's happening. The only thing that will change it is the year. So for example, if I come back to my expenses, I put something on the 1st of Jan 2026, for example, 500 salary. I go back to my dashboard, and every time you add something, you go to data, refresh all, it will refresh. You can see we have 2026. Now let's go back to 2025, or actually, let's see everything. So I'm just gonna clear all the filter. This is January, so we can see everything. And you can do the same thing for investments and savings. Now those two graphs are actually here. You have the pivot tables, and you're getting all the data that will come in my charts. Now let's look at what we have in terms of detailed view. First of all, you can check your income. What are my sources of income? Is it good? Is it diversified? And in the book, I'm talking, for example, about side hustles. So if you check the book, you'll see how you can succeed in terms of creating your side income. Now you can see everything, and you can select, for example, the months and the year, and it will update automatically. The chart will also update. This is in terms of percentage. And if you go to helper, we go to the right, you will see this is where I have my pivot table for the chart. Let's come back. We have the same thing for wealth, so I can see where am I investing, where am I saving. You see it in terms of percentages, and this is the pivot table that gives you the percentages. The one that is important is actually expenses. So here, for example, I can see for March what are my expenses by subcategories. For example, I'm spending too much on transportation. I can take corrective actions, which is cool. But you will tell me this is just a static view for 1 month. If I want to see April, I have to click here, etc. No, you don't. What you need to do is come here and do a deep dive. So for example, if I come here, I want to check my transportation. So I have my transportation. I press OK, and I get the amounts for January, March, and April. So you can see this in a small chart also. This will depend on the year that you select, or all the years, for example, if you have. The months have no effect, because again, this is something that you want to see as a trend, and you want to analyze it. Now, this is how the dashboard works, but there is a crucial thing I need to explain to you with this checking sheet. So what is happening? Basically, if you see this checking sheet, I have the months and the year. Jan 2025, Feb 2025, and if you look in the formula bar, this is 1 Jan 2025, 1 Feb 2025. I just have a formatting. So home, you go here to number, you have an arrow, and if you go to custom, you paste this, you will get this format. So 1 Jan will become Jan 2025. Now for each month, my income is equal to expense plus investments plus savings, which is what I have in my reference sheet. So you have the type, you have income, expense, you have investments, and you have savings. Now this is the check that tells me that everything is okay. For example, those three numbers are equal to 4,580, which is my income. If it's not, then I have a problem. Let's take an example. I will go here to my expense, and I will put for the 1st of July 2025, 500 in salary. Press enter. Now here I'm going to spend on the 5th of July, 300. And I'm going to spend it on, let's select something. For example, we can spend it on the phone. So what happened is, if I come to my dashboard and I look at, for example, July, I need first to go to data and refresh everything. You will see you get July here, right? Now the problem is I don't get anything in savings and investments, but actually I got 500 and I spent 300, so I have 200 left, and this will create issues in the dashboard. So what you need to do is come here once a month on the last day of the month and you check. Here you have 200 extra. You need to allocate them either to expense, investment, or savings. For example, I can come back and add 31st of July 200 current account, which is savings. Now if I come back and I check, I don't have a problem. I come back to the dashboard, I refresh it, and now I have 200 in savings. You can do the same thing if you overspend, so your savings might decrease, and that will keep the dashboard in check. So always do this check, and if you want more months, you just select everything and drag the formula. It will give you everything, and you can do the check. For example, January 2026, we have a problem. Why? Because we just added the salary without anything. This is the salary, you can see it here. Now all those numbers are automated. You have some SUMIF formulas. I'm not gonna go too much into details because otherwise the video will be too long. So if you have any question about those formulas, you can ask me. You have the comment section under this video. Feel free to write and I will respond to you. If you like this dashboard and you are struggling with Excel, you want to build tools like this one, I strongly recommend that you look at my Excel formula course. The link is in the description. I can guarantee you that within 30 days, you will look at Excel differently.